All signs point to this as head coach Kris Knoblauch continues his mental gymnastics in trickery when it comes to naming a starting goaltender for Game 1 against the Vegas Golden Knights. But the answer is a little more obvious than you may think. All that more today on Oilers Digest. Lots to discuss as we break down the Oilers in Knights' second round playoff series. Deja vu. I mean, the Oilers and Knights in round 2. And I mean, we even had the Leafs and Panthers in round 2 again. A direct parallel to 2023. Freaky how that happens. But we are 19 subscribers away from 3,000. So if you haven't already subscribed, if you're new to the channel, if you love anything and everything regarding the Edmonton Oilers, you have found the perfect place as we continue on through this Oilers playoff cup run. And without further ado, folks, let's get right into it with everybody's favorite discussion, death, taxes, and Oilers goaltending talk. I mean, I beat this horse to death time and time again, but I mean, it's very interesting, the back and forth that head coach Kris Knoblauch and the rest of the Oilers coaching staff and management just, with the goaltending, not too sure what to do, even though the fan base is yelling, Cal Pickard, start game one. Nothing but Cal Pickard. But for the coaching staff, sometimes it's a little more they put a little more thought into it as the Oilers and Knights tomorrow night. Still gotta wait one more sleep for that game one action at T-Mobile Arena, 8:30 Central, 7:30 Mountain. And when it comes to the Oilers goaltending, head coach Kris Knoblauch, he's got his faith in both of them. Says, I feel we got two goalies that can give us a great game and win us that night. We do have to think about what's best for our situation. So a little thinking there from Kris Knoblauch, not really tipping his hand as to who is going to start game one. That was pretty much every question at the presser this morning following the Oilers' last morning's game before they do head off to Vegas there. If it wasn't, about the goaltending, it was about, how much different is Vegas than LA. Not a whole lot of creativity from the Edmonton media, but I mean, what else is there to talk about with these Edmonton Oilers regarding, anything else but, line matchups, goaltending, how the Vegas Golden Knights fare with the Edmonton Oilers, how these two teams match up. But still lots of talk on paper here, but we still got to wait for the actual game to be played. But from Jason Greger here, the lines in pairings from this morning's game, the exact same as yesterday with Draisaitl, McDavid, and Perry. The loaded up top line there with Draisaitl, McDavid, and the 39-year-old worm there, Corey Perry, still giving it all he can in his twilight of his career with Evander Kane, Nugent-Hopkins, and Zach Hyman on the second line. The third line that I really liked against the LA Kings there in the back half of that series with Trent Frederick, who is looking better each and every game. Got his first goal as an Edmonton Oiler in Game 6 there. Guy's on one ankle, but he does a lot more than one ankle than I can do on both of mine there with Adam Henrique and Connor Brown and Vasily Podkolzin, Matthias Janmark, and Victor Arvidsson. Victor Arvidsson, again, had a very disappointing series against the LA Kings in my opinion, but I mean, the only other option here is Jeff Skinner, and I mean, Jeff Skinner and Kris Knoblauch don't exactly have the best relationship there, as we all saw throughout the season there, with just nothing but healthy scratches for Jeff Skinner on the back end. Very questionable, again, Nurse and Bouchard. I'm sure it'll all be fluid during the game. The Oilers do like to rotate their defensemen there with Jake Wallman and John Klingberg, who had a phenomenal first round against the LA Kings. Then Brett Kulak and Ty Emberson. Still no Matthias Ekholm. He is confirmed to be out for the second round against the Vegas Golden Knights. A huge blow to the team, but nonetheless, hopefully this Oiler D can get it done. And then not just the defense, but also the depth there. The year-to-year playoff goal differential without McDavid in Draisaitl there. The the results up to this season's playoffs thus far has been very disappointing there. I mean, the lack of support without McDavid in Draisaitl on this Oiler team throughout the years, just non-existent. But this year, they seem to be turning the corner. I mean, still, 9 goals for and 7 goals against, but that's still 56%. That's, 6 more percent than the bubble qualifiers against the Chicago Blackhawks, which don't really count in this scenario, as it technically wasn't, Stanley Cup playoff hockey, but still, It's very encouraging to see this Oiler depth sort of step it up. I mean, 6 different goal scorers in game number 6 and 9 goals that were not scored by McDavid or Draisaitl in the last 2 games against the LA Kings. And I do believe McDavid only had 1 point on the power play in game 6, Draisaitl none. So this depth stepping up when it matters. We all, criticize them for being old and slow during the regular season, but when the time matters, they have been showing their hand, and it's been phenomenal from this Oiler team after the awful first 2 games in LA, the bottom 6 in the second line there with the returning Evander Kane sort of flipped a switch and turned it on when it mattered there. But from TSN's Ryan Rishaug here, a little bit of a twist here, different from yesterday. Stuart Skinner was in the starter's net yesterday, but Cal Pickard in the starter's net for line rushers, Skinner at the other end. Like I mentioned, the lines and pairs looked the same, and not just that, but Pickard was also the first goalie off today with the early start. Would expect the optional tomorrow on game day there. So very interesting. That doesn't confirm that Cal Pickard would start game 1 there, but the signs are there. The signs are there unless Kris Knoblauch decides to pull an Uno reverse card and name Stuart Skinner as game 1, as the game 1 starter for tomorrow night. So we have yet to see, again, lots of mind games here from Kris Knoblauch, not just to the Vegas Golden Knights, but his own fan base in the Edmonton media. And I'm not sure if he, loves the thrill of making everybody guess, but he's not the first coach to do that. We've seen many coaches over the past couple of years do that, not just the Oilers, but just throughout the entire NHL. They're very tight-lipped on their situation, not wanting to give too much before the start of the series there. But when it comes to Cal Pickard, Kris Knoblauch was asked about, the journeyman goaltender, not expected to be in this big of a spotlight in the Stanley Cup playoffs on the, the national stage. He said he's looked like a quality NHL goalie. He's been winning a lot of hockey games, giving us great starts, even when he hasn't played for long stretches. This is probably the most he's played since his rookie year, and he's learned a lot through the adversity of being that role depth guy for most of his career. Obviously, he's been putting in the work. He's got a lot of talent, and we're appreciating his good play. Kris Knoblauch was also asked about, the difference between the Oilers, when Stuart Skinner starts in net and Cal Pickard. I've noticed a little bit more of a difference, but of course, Kris Knoblauch, not wanting to, discredit his other goaltender in Stuart Skinner, said he didn't notice a lot of difference there. But it's quite obvious sometimes, how much more confident the team seems to play when they're not worried about a goalie letting in a leaker in the dying minutes of a hockey game. Did I say that? I think I did, but Cal Pickard, no reason for him to lose his crease before the start of game 1. I know many on Twitter, Oilers Twitter, were saying, okay, well, it's only game 1. Start Stuart Skinner. What's the worst that could happen? Well, the worst that could happen is you'll lose game 1, and now you're down 1-0 in a tough rink to play in Vegas there, and you don't want to go down 2-0 going back to Edmonton again for the second series in a row. That's not exactly a recipe for success. But when it comes to Edmonton and their starting goaltender, Kris Knoblauch only had 3 words for you: see you tomorrow, when it comes to naming his starting goaltender there. So he said that with a bit of a cheeky smile. So loving that from Kris Knoblauch. A guy, he doesn't seem to be fazed by this whatsoever. Both playoff runs, it could be the post-game presser or pre-game presser before the Stanley Cup Finals against Florida, or heading into the Vegas series. The guy, his demeanor does not change whatsoever. Nothing ever seems to faze him. Is that scary? Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. It's tough to get into that the mind of Kris Knoblauch there. But just comparing the Golden Knights and the Oilers, I know the regular season, when it's compared to the Stanley Cup playoffs, not a whole lot of stock is put into this, but the Oilers and Knights very close this season, splitting the season series, with the Knights taking the first 2 games there 1-0 in 4-2, and then the Oilers winning the last 2 of the season series 6-3 in 3-2 off the back of Cal Pickard on that game on April 1st. There, just taking a look at the Vegas Golden Knights, who throughout the lineup very deep, and that's something that will trouble the Edmonton Oilers if they don't tighten it up, with William Karlsson, Jack Eichel, and Mark Stone there, with a phenomenal, ferocious first line there from Vegas. Is it as good as the 2023 Stanley Cup winning Vegas Golden Knights? A lot of tongue twisters there, but I don't think it's as good as that 2023 team, but still very dangerous with Brandon Saad. Remember when the Oilers were in the sweepstakes for Brandon Saad? I do too, with Tomas Hertl and Keegan Colasar on that second line, Ivan Barbashev, Nicholas Waugh, and Riley Smith, and then Victor Olofsson, Brett Howden, and Tanner Pearson there. So any one of those lines can dominate at any given time in the game. The Vegas Golden Knights are without Pavel Dorofeyev for an undisclosed time, so I mean, slight benefit to the Oilers there, but still, all four of those Vegas Golden Knights lines can, beat you to a bloody pulp and score all in the same time. Skill and grit is the Vegas Golden Knights, a very stingy hockey team ever since they came into the league in 2017 there. They've never really had a down season. Even though everyone was saying, how awful they were going to be in that first season. But the Vegas Golden Knights running this team like a business, a successful business, nonetheless. No relationships there. If you're not good, you are out, and that is the Vegas Golden Knights way. On the back end there, Braden McNabb and Shea Theodore, Nicholas Hagen, Alex Pietrangelo, who still has that history with Leon Draisaitl from the 2023 playoffs here, so it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. And I mean, what a deep blue line with Noah Hanifin and Zach Whitecloud. And between the sticks for the Vegas Golden Knights, the projected Game 1 starter is Adin Hill in the first round series against the Minnesota Wild. Sure, they got the series win, but he looked very pedestrian with a goals against average of 2.83 and a save percentage of .880, so a far cry from when he came into the playoffs in 2023 against the Oilers. And pretty much the Knights rode him all the way to a Stanley Cup. No one was able to solve him. Not Edmonton, not Dallas in the conference finals, and certainly not Florida in the Stanley Cup finals. There you can see in the 6 games against the Minnesota Wild there. Again, he's had flashes of brilliance, had a .935 in the series clinching game, but again, not really a whole lot of numbers that jump out at you and say, wow, he is a phenomenal goaltender. I mean, a .909, a .906, but the first 3 games, very shaky for him, an .810, a .750, and a .900, and he's among the bottom 5 of goalies with goals saved above expected there with -2. You can see the other goalie for the Vegas Golden Knights, Akir Schmid, he's a little higher up the standings there, or the rankings, I should say. But Adin Hill, again, not as dangerous as he was 2 years ago there. You can see Connor McDavid, the Jets somehow making it into the second round of the playoffs against the Dallas Stars, despite Connor McDavid with a negative 10.1 goals saved above expected there. So that'll be a very interesting one to see against the Dallas Stars. But nonetheless, I mean, Adin Hill, the Oilers can certainly solve him. Minnesota gave him issues, and then Minnesota, again, does not have the firepower that Edmonton does, so it'll be interesting to see if Edmonton can crack that Vegas Golden Knights crease once and for all there. But the playoffs, you live and die by your special teams there. The Oilers ranked second in their power play with 38.5, despite having an awful start to their power play against the LA Kings. But despite the penalty kill looking at 60% there, they turned it on in the final few games of the LA series. Meanwhile, the Vegas Golden Knights certainly the opposite, with a 27.8 power play percentage in 76.9 PK. I noticed a lot of their penalty kill scenarios there against the Minnesota Wild. Very, very passive compared to the LA Kings, who just sort of moved around and tried to disrupt you. But the Vegas Golden Knights and the LA Kings, certainly 2 different teams there, and it'll be 2 different styles that the Oilers do have to contend with. But I've got all the faith in these Oilers. There's the Oilers and Knights, 2 offensive powerhouses there, ranking second and fourth respectively in shot attempts and unblocked shot attempts, the Fenwick 4. So lots of offense here. It's certainly not going to be boring there, and these Oilers battle hardened in the past 2 years, the past 3, I should say, ever since the conference final sweep against the Colorado Avalanche, and then 2023 against the Knights, which really formed themselves into this team that, through hell or high water, they're going to try and, make some, cause as much damage as they can there. From Jack Michaels, the Oilers have won 8 playoff series since 2017. They've trailed in 7 of them. They are a hard out now, again, is, trying to trail or losing game 1 in every single series. That's exactly, again, not a recipe for success there, but, it just goes to show you how resilient these Edmonton Oilers are. That is it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments what's your thoughts about the series going into this series against the Vegas Golden Knights? Are you worried? Are you more confident about this one than you are against the LA Kings? I know everyone going into the LA Kings series was like, okay, this might be the year that LA finally knocks out Edmonton. Really, I think LA is a little better constructed than the Vegas Golden Knights. It was just their power play. And a few losing skids on the road. They were not a very good road team. That led them to not win the Pacific Division. But again, I thought LA was better than Vegas. So the Oilers should have a little bit of an easier time against the Vegas Golden Knights. But two completely different styles, and this will make for a completely different series than we all saw in round number 1. If you haven't already, we are 19 subscribers away from 3,000. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new. And folks, have a great rest of your Monday. Try to enjoy the game tonight. It's Panthers-Leafs. There's the draft lottery. I remember when the draft lottery, that was all we were looking forward to in the good old days, the decade of darkness. But again, that is not something we have to worry about for the near future. Have yourselves a great rest of your Monday, folks. Take care. I'm Matt.